guys, I'm Imogen, I'm director.
Hi, I'm Maggie and I'm playing Kathy.
Hi, I'm Peter, I'm playing Jamie. So the last 5 years is a really beautiful and painful examination of the relationship between Jamie and Kathy. They are two very, very different people and they experience the same relationship in very different ways. Kathy experiences it during the show in reverse, and Jamie's story is told chronologically. I think it's a really interesting framing device because you kind of get to relate to both of the characters at different points along the way.
It's definitely very different to how, like, obviously we were originally going to do it. And also I think quite different to how it's been done before, but not like the film in the sense that you have them together in the scenes, or like the way it's kind of edited and put together. Like, it's not like that, but it's not also going to be like what it is on stage. But I think it is more like the sense that it is in the stage version, because they're on stage doing their songs individually, and we only have those two moments where they kind of cross over, or even one moment where they cross over. The rehearsal process as well, in the sense that, like, we haven't had as long as like we would have on these songs and these moments, and like the filming, like rehearsing process, as we would have if we were doing it on film or on stage, which has been quite interesting, because it's been like you have to really know your version of Kathy or Jamie and be able to put, like, you're being told, okay, you need to do this, you have to be them and do the like direction notes that you've given, which I love.
I think it's been a really cool experience in that way, because it's like, I feel like one day I'm learning the song, the next day I'm recording it, the next day I'm filming it. So it's a very like rapid turnaround process, and you don't have a lot of time to spend with the character. You've just got to kind of do it very instinctively, I find, and kind of it's very much sort of like first take is like you want it to be as perfect as you can, because that's the most honest like version of it that you've produced. So like I feel like it's quite easy to get lost in wanting to redo things a lot. Which I'm sure has infuriated both Imogen and Livy, because I keep wanting to redo everything.
Same. Oh my gosh, I thought it was only me, and I thought you were like the perfect one that I didn't have to read.
not even slightly.
It's like much more collaborative in that sense, because you guys have a chance to watch over your own performances, and you can kind of go, nah, I don't like that, I'm gonna do that again, before you even send it to us. And then we get like 5 or 6 options of every scene, and like still it's really hard to not try and like want it to be perfect, you know.
And also it is hard in the sense that, like, we do have a time frame that we are working for, so it's not like we're able to do like 20 takes of the same thing, because we need to keep it moving, which is, again, is like nice having that kind of going off the instinct, because I think these characters kind of thrive off of that as well. If you're thinking about, like, if you do it the first take, the emotion behind it, like really trying to do it by instinct, then it may end up being the best take that you've done.
And the other thing that's really interesting, I find, is that because like the format of the show has changed so much from the stage to a sort of halfway house between stage and film, is like a lot of the direction that I feel like we would be getting if we were doing this on stage is now becoming a lot more like technically focused. So it's like it's more about like the blocking of the shots, the movement of the camera, and sort of like how you need to work with the camera as opposed to like the character itself. And like in that way, I think it's been a really, really cool experience, because I feel like I've had a lot more freedom to kind of play around with the character itself and sort of bring it to life in my own way, which has been really, really cool.
Same, also like interacting, like having a camera. I wasn't, very, at first having the camera, I was just very like, oh, where do I look? Where do I stand? Kathy, she is going backwards, so already it's kind of like you're having to make yourself get younger, and that's quite. But now I think you've had the extra challenge of doing the same thing and weaving in and out of different kind of parts of their life, which, yeah, you would have gotten the stage one, but we've had to do it differently, but we've had to know them better as characters then, I think.
Yeah, it's like one day you're jumping into like, oh, happy clappy, like this is Jamie or Kathy at their best, and then the next one you're like, oh god, I'm having a breakdown, I'm crying, like yeah.
Which is odd, but I think also just because, as you were saying earlier, it's very isolated in terms of you do all of a scene at once and then that's it. It's done. Like that scene's over and you're not going to come back to it, which is
Yeah.
it's weird in a sense because like the way I think about it, I'm kind of constantly thinking about all of the scenes. So we're doing it, and then 3 days later, I'm like, oh, this would be really cool if we could try that. And I'm like, oh, it's done. Like we've done it, which is kind of weird, but
It's also kind of annoying because we did my favorite song first, so I've never been able to do it. It's like since, which is really sad. But
yeah, we did. I mean, Still Hurting's one of my faves as well. Yeah, and that like, but I was, I was complaining about it to my dad, and he was just like the fact that I can't like redo that song again. He was like, yeah, but you would come back to that song in like 10 years probably and see that you would do it a completely different way, regardless of you reshooting that again. Like it's going to be different every time you do it. It's not saying bad. It's just going to be different.
yeah. Honestly, I have cracked myself up during rehearsals because like every music director has their own way of doing vocal warm-ups at the start of a rehearsal. So you've got to get used to that first of all. And then like in the middle of it, while you're like halfway through a scale, the audio will just cut in and out and it'll be really jumpy. And then I'll be like, where am I in the exercise? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just so much chaos.
Yeah, I was gonna say like especially for like Livy's rehearsal, I don't think it would have been much different if we were like not separated, because we're still doing like her warm-ups and going through the songs in the same way, just maybe a bit faster than we would have. But yeah, the audio delay is making it that much different.
It's quite an interesting challenge, like translating like your like general filming notes into the space, because like we've done our best to try and like draw detailed like floor plans and stuff for you to use to plan the shots, but then like it is inevitably different when it comes to actually filming it in real life, and we have to like slightly change and interpret what you've written to make it fit the space and make it all work. And like sometimes it feels like a lot of guesswork, and I feel like I'm just praying that you're gonna like what we've done with it, because like sometimes it just has to be different. I think we've been lucky so far that it hasn't been a problem, but
it's worked really well. But I mean, that's just even things like that. Like I've never seen or been in any of the spaces that we're using.
it's been hard. It's kind of like thinking several steps ahead, because you've got to think before you record, like where you want to put pauses in, like where you want to like embellish a bit, like put in a hand gesture or a facial expression, and how that might sound as well. Because inevitably, when you move your face, your voice sounds different. So you've got to try and think how you want to actually express what the character's trying to get across before you actually walked through the set and like what you're going to do. So not easy.
I feel like for me, it's the recording is harder than the like. It's harder on the recording the situation than it would be the actual shooting of the scenes, because I think I sometimes sound a lot better when I'm like fully in the scene and acting it. Like the voice carries with everything that's going on. So now I've like had to adapt to when I'm recording, even though my head like attached to I've got like my headphone attached to the laptop, like I will have to try and act it as well as I can, like just while standing there, to emulate some kind of similar quality.
I guess it's a result of when just listening to the mixes and stuff, it's so like expressive. They're amazing. Like I can literally, whenever we get a new thing through it, it's like, oh my god, listen, and I'm like, I can see this happening. Like I've never heard such like great recordings of all the songs, because it's like you've literally got everything in that song, which you need. Like we kind of need for this, but like yeah, I think the songs just sound so great, which is really exciting. But yeah.
I feel like that's very generous, but thanks.
Yes, I was gonna say the same. Like some of the emotion has caused of like the recordings. There's been cracks. There's been flatness.
Yeah. Yeah, very much. It's like a very like big double-edged sword, I find, like, because when it comes to the acting part, you no longer have to worry about how you're sounding, which is kind of a relief, because you know you've got a decent recording that is going to be playing. But it means that it doesn't, I don't know, I feel like the hardest part has been trying to make sure that a lot of the nuance that Livy's worked so hard to get when she's been mixing these tracks, you want to make sure that doesn't get lost when you move it onto film, because you're not performing live. It's a very different experience to like having this recording. It's like it's just a whole different way of working, I find. I kind of feel in a weird way like I've been half directing Owen, bless, because like it's trying to visualize what you've written down in your notes and then trying to reimagine it in the space that we're using, and then trying to tell him at what point exactly he needs to move, and like that kind of, I don't know, it feels almost like I'm micromanaging, but it's quite, because it's quite precise, we want to make sure we get it right, so it's like a bit weird.
Mine's my dad, and he does know the show relatively well. Like he knows some of the songs from it, but so that's helped. But again, I think I've been acting, very much like a micromanager, like move it, like, and then at the very beginning, I was like very apologetic to him. I was like, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to be there. It didn't work, and then now I'm just like,
Yeah.
you could, some of the takes you can hear like the beforehand. I'm like, no, move it there. I'm like, oh god, you're becoming like, yeah.
But yeah, no, some of my favorite bits are just like when it's doing the take over and over again, and you just keep going and you keep going, oh my god, no, like you guys at the end, and I can literally feel frustration. Like it's hard.
At the end,
The communication has to be between so many people, like because it's between you guys and Livy, me and Livy, me and you, me and the, as much like kind of through notes, the cameras, you and the cameras, like there's just so many ways that everything could go slightly out. So it's yeah.
Yeah, which ironically fits in really well with the show, given like Jamie and Kathy's relationship, because like one of the big failings is that they're not very good at communicating with each other. So
Oh.
the fact that we've managed to kind of pull off a project like this with such difficulties in communicating just seems quite fitting in a very strange way.
I love to be busy,
Mm-hmm.
and
I feel
I needed something to do, like as in I wanted to have something theatre wise as well to go on, like while I was, and I was really, I really wanted to do the show. I was so excited. So as soon as like, yeah, I remember getting that message. I was like, yeah,
I'm in.
go for it. Don't care what I have to do. I'm in.
yeah, I think initially I was wow, like how is that going to happen? Like
Yeah.
what do you mean by an online show? Because it could be done in so many different ways that I was like, I'm down to try anything, but like just tell me what it's going to be and we'll give it a go.
Yeah, I think that was also like when me and Livy just started talking about it, and then we said to Harvey, do you think, like, I think we could do this? He was like, what are you guys on? Like, what do you mean? And we were like, we don't actually know, we just want to do it. I think that's a similar, we were like, we just need something to do, we want, and this show's so great as well, we were like, we are not ready to let this go.
I'm so glad we have, because it feels like we're not just sort of doing lip service to the show. It feels like we're actually producing something that is very valuable in its own right, which is, I think, especially important with everything that's going on in the world at the moment, that like it's still possible to be creative, like you can still get things done. And that's one of the like saving graces I feel that this show's given me, is actually I've had way more structure to work with while I've been stuck at home.
I love having that structure in it. I've really enjoyed that. And again, like the fact that we have done this in the way that we have, I feel that we can actually like have a product that is doing the show justice, but also in a very unique way. I think a lot of things will be different to how people think the show is. And yeah, which I think is quite exciting. Like at first I was like, oh my god, like I have loads of friends who love this show and they have so many ideas about it already. And I'm worried that like it's like I'm not going to live up to their expectations, whatever. But I actually think this is so different, and we've been able to do something really exciting with it. And
That's really hard. I think so. I have this running joke that whenever I get cast in things, I get cast as like very much like generic good person, or like they're just very like, the term vanilla protagonist has been thrown around, and like, yeah, so it's quite nice playing a character that's actually a bit more three-dimensional than that, who actually has some really ugly sides to his personality. So I think for that reason I've most enjoyed filming If I Didn't Believe in You, because I really got to like go in, like get really angry, shout even over some really pretty music, So I think that for me has been most fun.
I want to say, well, there's quite a few, but like I'm just gonna say I can do better than that, because it was in the car, and that was quite a fun thing to try and figure out how to film, and like have that was, and like doing lots of different takes, and my dad like getting in some of the shots, that was quite fun. But again, actually, I think See I'm Smiling, that's one of my favorite songs, even because I just think it's you see so much more of Kathy there. It's not just, oh, she's like so in love, and oh, she's just so sad. It's, you see kind of like really like how she's trying to make things work, and that she is actually more determined than she seems. And that was quite a simple one to film as well, which made it like more to do with how I was acting it, which I enjoyed, because it was like less of me worrying where my dad was standing, but more of me like actually being able to commit to what I was doing with the song.
Yeah. It's quite interesting actually, because I feel like we both picked the songs where our characters kind of have breaking points. And like, I think it is just the most fun to act, because you've got the transition between like, everything's fine, like it's fine. This is another discussion between us. We're just having another like tiff or whatever. And then it just escalates more and more throughout both those songs until they each just have a moment where they go off. I think that's really, really fun to play.
Yeah. Oh, we know the answer to mine already. It's still hurting because it's but when we did the final take, that was quick. It was just, that was the first one we'd done, so it was just trying to figure out like how we wanted to do this and what shots we wanted and how it was going to be filmed. Yeah, I would probably say that was the hardest one to do.
I think for me, it's probably going to have to be A Miracle Would Happen, because there are just so many words in such a short space of time that there is no way in hell I'm going to say it in exactly the same way that I recorded it. That I'm just like trying my best and like kind of flailing a bit and not doing a great job, but it's just a lot of fun anyway. But that's definitely been the hardest, I think. Other than that, I'm quite apprehensive about doing Shmuel Song, just because it's such like a big like character piece that I think it's going to be really hard trying to get right.
If I Didn't Believe in You, straight off the bat, I frigging love that song. I've always wanted to do it. I really want to sing it. Like, it just, every time I hear it, I'm like, I have to sing the song.
See,
Yeah.
we've had this debate before, like during some of my rehearsals, and we've every time concluded that Jamie just has better music than Kathy.
Yes, he
which
does.
Is really sad.
And it's because Jason Robert Brown is based off of himself, and he's going to give himself the best music. Yeah. It's so annoying. Like, I heard him do a whole analysis thing about If I Didn't Believe in You, and he was playing and singing at the same time. I was like, this is the best song on the whole show, and you wrote it for yourself. Yeah. But, like, he has creative license.
I think I probably have to say, there are some really, really nice moments with Kathy in the next 10 minutes. I think she has some really nice phrases that, like, I don't know, they're ones that always stick with me when I listen to it. But I think actually in terms of like how much fun it would be, probably Summer in Ohio, just because that's another one where you really get to like go for it. And
I don't have like one favorite, because it depends what you mean by favorite. Like, I don't know, my favorite one to listen to is probably something like Moving Too Fast, or just something that's kind of fun to listen to. But I really like, I do like If I Didn't Believe in You. I think it's really complex, and it's also the journey we get to see just through that song, like the change we get to see is really interesting. But I also really like Goodbye Until Tomorrow, or And I Could Never Rescue You, just because, one, it's a great song, and it's really nice to hear them sing together, because you obviously don't get that very much. But I also just think it ties up. It's the moment, I think that's the moment for me that I understand it fully as a whole. I get to see the whole picture. I think it ties up the ending really nicely, and also just the very different, very, very, very different places they're at in that moment is so nicely contrasted with each other.
The show that we are working really, really hard on at the moment is going to be streamed live on the Double O Productions website. You can buy your tickets at the links on the Facebook event page. Make sure you're there. It's going to be really exciting. It's been a lot of fun to work on. There's there's a lot of lovely people involved, so make sure you don't miss out.